This phenomenon of Moshe making himself the conduit of the revelation of the Torah is not entirely new. We find a parallel to this, and to understand this parallel, let us go to the scene immediately following the giving of the Torah. It is in our parsha. It is in chapter 20, and the verses 15 through 17. I'll read them now. All the people saw the voices and the torches, the sound of the shofar, the smoking mountain, and the people saw and trembled. So they stood from afar. They said to Moses, "You speak with us, and we will hear, but let God not speak with us, lest we die." But Moses said to the people, "Fear not, for God has come in order to exalt you, to lift you up, in order that his awe shall be upon your faces, so that you shall not sin." So Moshe encouraged them. He wanted them to hear the Torah directly from God. And however, we discover that God was pleased with this request of the people. We know that the Ten Commandments and the giving of the Torah is related again in the Deuteronomy, literally the Mishnah Torah, where the Torah is recapitulated. So in the Et Chanan, the parsha where that takes place, Moshe is reminding them of what had happened. "Behold, the Lord our God has shown us his glory and his greatness. We heard his voice from the midst of the fire. We saw this day that God speaks with a man, yet remains alive. Now, why should we die? For this great fire will consume us. If we continue to hear the voice of the Lord our God anymore, we will die. For who is there of all flesh who heard the voice of the living God speaking from the midst of the fire as we have, and lived?" So they asked Moshe to convey the words of the Torah to them. And Rashi explains Moshe was not enthusiastic about this, but he does confess. "The Lord heard the sound of your words when you spoke to me, and the Lord said to me, I have heard the sound of the words of this people, that they have spoken to you. They have done well in all that they have spoken." God agreed with this request. Now, what do they mean when they say, "We have heard the voice of the Lord and lived"? So the tradition teaches us that the first two commandments, "I am the Lord your God, and you shall have no other gods before me," were heard directly by the people. So out of the 613 commandments, 2 of them were heard directly by the entire nation. Indeed, the Talmud explains that the verse says, "Torah tziva lana Moshe, morasha kehilot Yaakov." The Torah, which was commanded to us by Moses, is the inheritance of the congregation of Jacob. Now, was it Moses who commanded the Torah? So the Talmud sees in this an allusion to the fact that the people made this request. So Torah, which was commanded by Moshe, so the sages explain that the word Torah itself is that the gematria has a numerical value of 611, which indeed it does. Why is 611 the key number? Because those are the number of commandments that were commanded through the conduit of Moshe. But the first 2 commandments, "I am the Lord your God, and you shall have no other gods before me," those were heard directly by the people. But their souls left them, we are told. The soul could not, body and soul could not remain together in the face of this incredible experience, in the face of this incredible godly revelation. What happened? So the Midrash tells us, "Parcha nishmatam," their souls fled their bodies, and they were resuscitated with the dew of the Torah. So there was a kind of bringing back from the dead, so to speak. Soul and body were rejoined so that they could receive the rest of the Torah. But at this stage, they said, "No, Moshe, this is too much. You should tell us the Torah. This will make it slightly less intense experience, one which will be tolerable by the physical body, enabling it to remain together with the soul." There's a question asked in Chassidut. Indeed, they survived. their souls left them. We're told that they were resuscitated. Why did they want Moses to continue telling them the Torah, and why did God agree with this? Could they have not heard the other commandments in the same way? And if their souls leave their bodies, again, God will resuscitate them with the dew of Torah. So Hasidus explains that Torah is meant to be received with body and soul joined together. That is the point. Because it is a Torah given on earth, as we said, always emphasizing the idea is to change the physical, low material world into a godly place, but not to annul the physical world. So by the same token, coming back to our topic, the people are saying that they want Moses to convey the Torah to them. At first, Moses, in our parsha, and again, as reminded in parshat et Hanan, that he really wanted the whole nation together with him to hear directly from God's mouth the giving of the law. And as far as their imagined inability to do so, Moshe felt that he could elevate them. He could bring them up, as a spiritual leader does, to the level where they would be able to sustain this experience. And surely that may have well been the case. And yet God says they have spoken well. Why? Because the purpose of the giving of the Torah is not to receive it in a way when one is elevated temporarily in a state which does not reflect his true entity, but rather to receive it in the way that they are in their regular mode of existence. Moshe, on the one hand, this incredible leader, saw within the people the potential, the profound spiritual potential to receive the Torah even the way that he did. It would be done with his assistance. But he didn't see the necessity in the same way of them receiving the Torah in a way like the lever, going under the lowest aspects of their persona. And this could only be done if he was able to stand between God and man and help facilitate this transmission of the divine law. God did see it. And there was another individual that saw it as well, and that individual was Yitro. Yitro was formerly a non-Jew, not part of the 12 tribes. He was a convert. He didn't have the exalted spiritual level of Moshe. So rather than seeing the profound potential within the nation, he saw their externalities. He saw that they're having legal disputes. Surely in the presence of Moshe, they could be taught the Torah and its applications in a way that Moshe teaches it, the one who received it directly from God. But what would happen when they returned to the regular mode of existence? So the Torah had to be taught, says Yitro, in a way, and judged in a way that will be psychologically and personally sustainable, that will be able to be integrated into the everyday existence and to the lower aspects of the personalities of the people of Israel. And therefore, the idea of having judges delegated the job of making judgments and teaching was not something which was just a default, but actually represented a superior mode of teaching Torah, and one which would integrate it into people's lives in a way that reflects the very purpose of the giving of the Torah as well.